for this lesson, we are going to talk about the differences between fiction and informational text, or fiction and nonfiction. Now, hopefully these words are familiar, but I just want to remind you about what fiction is, what nonfiction is, and some characteristics of each one. So think to yourself, okay, fiction, what's fiction? Yes, fiction are made-up stories about events that didn't happen in real life. They could be crazy and wild and magical and made up animals and that, or they can be super realistic. They just happen to be about people that aren't real. But it could be very realistic, like something could happen, but it didn't, or it could be totally crazy and wild. All right? And then we have nonfiction or informational text, where they tell about real people, things, places, and events. All right, so again, hopefully those are reminders, but in case you'd forgotten, fiction is fake, okay, made up, and then informational is nonfiction, and it is about true things. All right. So some of the characteristics of fiction, like I said, it's made up. Okay, it could be wild and crazy, magical, fantasy, or it could be very realistic, more of just, realistic fiction is what that's called, where it's just an everyday kind of story, but somebody just happened to make it up. Okay, it has characters, it has a setting, it has a plot. So a setting is a time and a place. A plot is the events that are happening. So first this happened, then this happened, then this happened. So there's some sort of story. It might have illustrations that show scenes from the story. Usually doesn't have real pictures unless they just took pretend pictures. It has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Again, that story, it's not just facts, it's a story put together. It has some sort of theme, moral, or lesson, and it belongs to a genre. So I had mentioned realistic fiction. There's fantasy, which is like magical and, magical creatures and things. There's fairy tales, once upon a time, this and this happened. Mystery, where the characters are trying to solve something. Science fiction, where it's like it's taking place sort of in the future, where there's scientific things that maybe could exist in the future but don't currently exist as science fiction. So that is one type of one sort of big group is fiction. The other big group is informational text or nonfiction. So again, these are true stories. They tell facts or provide real information. Okay, so they might have photographs in it of plants, of animals. They might have captions and labels telling you the different parts of the plants, or about different countries. They might tell you how to do something. They might have really technical words, different vocabulary words. They might have a specific text structure. We'll get more into that this year, but compare and contrast or step by step. First you do this, then you do this. So like a recipe is informational text. It's telling you information. Might be someone's opinion. Somebody's trying to persuade you about something. That's also informational text. It's nonfiction. They're sharing what's true in their life. You might have a memoir is a type of informational text because it's telling memories from a real person's life. You can have biographies or autobiographies. Again, it's stories about real people who actually lived. For your activity today, you're going to see if you can sort different made-up book titles into whether they're fiction or nonfiction. So if it's something that you're like, that couldn't happen, then it would be fiction, right? If it's just facts about something or information about a country or an animal or something, that would be informational text. And hopefully you can think of different books that you've read that take place. Anything that has talking animals, that's fiction. Anything that's more learning facts, learning about different things would be that informational text, that nonfiction. And we'll be looking at both of these texts this year, and both have their different place. Just like when we talked about that we read books for different reasons, there are different kinds of books, right? We might read fiction for entertainment, whereas we might read informational text when we want to learn something. Not that you can't be entertained by informational text, but more often it has a different purpose than perhaps fiction does. Okay? Also, we can learn things from fiction. We can learn about ourselves. We can learn about the world, but it's just in a different type of way. Okay? So good luck identifying which of those titles is fiction and which of those is nonfiction.